All right, well, let's finish it up in Tampa. This is, let's end it with Tom Brady. Why not? So Tom Brady, QB 10. It's always a steal with Tom Brady. I don't know why he continues to go at QB 10. I guess it's because he's 44 years old, or 43, whatever. How
50.
old he is? Yeah, 75. I don't know. He'll still be QB 10, and he'll still be drafting them. I think he could outdo that ADP very easily. I think the fact that he's falling into that QB slide late means that you still can wait on a quarterback and you'll be okay, because Tom Brady being the 10th person taken, that means you're getting him at a very good spot in your draft, probably 8th, 9th round. And that is the perfect spot to grab somebody like Tom Brady, because he's not going to be losing a step this year. I don't really see this being the year that he loses it. I know everybody's been praying on his downfall for these past couple of years, but ain't going to be this year. So moving on to the running backs, we got Leonard Fournette, or as we called him, Leonard Donut. He came into camp 26 pounds lighter than they thought, which is good. Obviously, they thought he was going to be 260, clocked in about 234, I think. Coming to camp, he's going as RB12 right now. I think that's about right. I think that because I think his overall is about 24 or 25. I think the end of the second round, or even beginning of the second round, anywhere in the second round is a good spot for Leonard Fournette. I think he could come back to prove that right, and he is still a strong running back. He's finished as a top 10 line or running back last year, so I don't think that there's any concern there. And with Tom back, I don't see how he loses that much of a step. Sure, the weight could be a problem, but I would just wait and see how camp goes, because I think those pounds will be coming off shortly. But if those pounds don't come off, Rachaad White would be the guy behind him, going currently as RB40. I think that kind of ADP means that people kind of were concerned about Leonard Fournette, so I think that's what brought him up a little bit. Rachaad White is me and Joe's favorite running back of the Senior Bowl. Favorite running back taken in the draft, probably. So I think that he's got a great future. I don't think it's going to be this year. He did come in at 23 years old, so that is a bit of a concern in Dynasty. But as far as this year and the next couple of years, I think he could be a running back that, weren't really thinking of this year, but he ends up being somebody who is able to make an impact, maybe this year, but perhaps years to come for sure. So on to the wide receivers. Mike Evans is the preeminent wide receiver on this team. He's going as wide receiver 7 right now on Underdog. This is, I guess, your working man's linebacker, because everybody seems to doubt him going into the season every single year, and he outdoes your ADP thought every single year. So the fact that you're going to be able to get him at wide receiver 7, 8, 9, one of those spots, he's going to return on investment unless there's an injury. But without injury, he's going to be a return on investment.
I think Mike Evans is actually the biggest boom this year from his draft position, because he was Tom Brady's touchdown machine, and he doesn't have Gronk anymore. And I know he's not trusting Kyle Rudolph for those jump balls, but 13 and 14 touchdowns these last 2 years with Tom. And with Godwin coming in injured, I mean, obviously he will probably be okay for the start of the season. If he's not, he misses a couple games. Mike Evans is just going to have monster games. And I think even the yardage goes up. I think there's just so many targets that go to Mike Evans, even with, obviously, Julio might take a couple of those, but we'll get in there. So
yeah, I was about to say, we'll get to who I think could be the touchdown vulture here in a second. But Mike Evans was really good last season, so don't overthink it. That's really all I'm saying here. Don't overthink it. Mike Evans is still that guy, and he will continue to be that guy. On to Chris Godwin, wide receiver 30. So he is coming off of an injury, but he began training camp kind of against. I think we were all kind of surprised at that, because I thought he would be on the pup. Surprised. And I thought that would go into the season, but he was actually cleared to play at training camp. So Chris Godwin, I still think misses a few games going into the season, but I don't think he misses as many as I anticipated him missing back when he got injured last season, and what I thought screwed up the contract, but ended up still getting a good faith contract from the Bucs. So I still think Chris Godwin at wide receiver 30 is a major steal, because if he only misses 1 or 2 games, you're still getting Chris Godwin for the entire season. And without Antonio Brown there, Chris Godwin is going to have to be that guy who also picks up that slack. So,
dude, listen to these targets from last year. One game with 14, one with 11, one with 11, one with 12, 17, and 15 the 2 weeks before he got injured. I mean, Chris Godwin at wide receiver 30.
Some of those games are like basically like Amari Cooper big games, but even his bad games aren't terrible. A lot of tens. His floor is really phenomenal. He had one game with 4 points. And that was his worst. And then everything else was 9, 10, 12. So
sorry.
I was just gonna say you're getting a lot for Godwin, especially at that price tag. But I have a feeling Mike Evans just takes the leap this year.
You really are. I don't think the ADP is quite caught up to this team. Like that includes Chris Godwin, because I don't think anybody expected him to be available for training camp. So the fact that he is probably going to shoot that ADP up from wide receiver 30. But for now, if you're still playing underdog, you might still be able to get him pretty late. I'm going to move. So Russell Gage is technically the next one on this list, but I'm going to move straight to Julio Jones. Going as wide receiver 80 right now. He is not. He has not been put on a team on underdogs, so I don't think he's quite the connection hasn't quite been made, the catch up for the ADP. I don't think wide receiver 80 will be where he goes in actual drafts. But again, what are you really getting from Julio Jones? He had a couple of good games last season. He had a pretty darn good playoff game, even though they lost that game. I just don't know what to expect from Julio, other than maybe because Gronkowski's gone. Maybe this is the guy they throw out there as the potential touchdown guy. He catches the 1 yard for one catch, 1 yard, one touchdown kind of thing. And that's kind of the Julio Jones experience for 2022. I'm not sure.
I just don't understand why you don't use the jump ball Mike Evans. He's 2 inches taller and more healthy. But my biggest thing about Julio Jones, which I kind of find a little ironic, is he joins the man who took away his Super Bowl ring to get a Super Bowl ring, which is true. Just it's very Kevin Durant of Julio Jones right here. But here we are.
Very Kevin Durant of Julio Jones. Well, yeah, that is kind of funny to think about. I don't know. I can't in good faith tell a lot of people out there, go ahead and draft Julio Jones. Sure, he might be relevant and you might be the guy that takes him, and sure, it's fun to have him on the team and maybe that's a nice flex for you, but I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. All right, moving on to Russell Gage, going as wide receiver 33 right now. I do not expect that to stay that same. He is currently scheduled to be the slot receiver.
But they paid him so much money.
Exactly, and the people on Twitter were having a fit when the Julio Jones news came out. But Russell Gage, on this podcast last year when he was with Atlanta, we just thought because Calvin Ridley isn't there, this is the year. This is Russell Gage's year.
He did have that year, though.
Well,
he had that year.
Towards the end, he did, but
he was injured. He was out for 5 games. Well,
I know, but we expected more.
Week 1, he did nothing, which was very disappointing. But I think Ridley was playing still, and then Tampa Bay. Meh. And then after that, when he came back from his injury, he was that guy. I mean, he really was. I mean, it was Atlanta, so I mean, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. But 770 in 12 games essentially with being the lead guy, it wasn't that bad. The touchdowns weren't there, but I mean, I'm kind of bummed out for him because this was like his last hurrah. He gets to play with Tom, and then they immediately signed Julio after getting him. So.
Well, I don't know if it was I don't know if it's his last hurrah, but it's definitely put a big damper on his ADP. I would say that, Russell Gage could end up being somewhat useful for Tom at some point in this year. I still think he could have a nice role, especially if he takes over for Antonio Brown, because I don't think that is what you addressed when you got Julio Jones. I still think he's very available in that department, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. On to the tight ends. Cam Brate, tight end 25. Kyle Rudolph, tight end 30. I don't think you're feeling good about either one of these guys being on your team. Kyle the touchdown Rudolph reindeer. He did an okay. He didn't have an okay year with the Giants last year. It was just And I don't think there's anybody on this team tight end wise that you're going to want unless Gronk miraculously comes back.
Cade Otton's interesting for Dynasty, but yeah, Kyle Rudolph and Cameron Brate are basically the same guy. I don't really know. Honestly, even their vitals look about the same.
Their vitals.
It's going to be literally
their blood pressure. These guys. Cam Brate did go to Harvard, which is interesting. Didn't know that. Anyway, so this offense, don't overthink it. Tom Brady, usable. Leonard Fournette, usable. Mike Evans, take him in the second round. Like, come on. You can't really get a better second round wide receiver than him. I guarantee you the guy or girl in your league that goes the 12-1 of the next round on the snake draft is going to take Mike Evans, and they're not going to think twice about it. So if you don't want to let that happen, maybe take him earlier. I don't know. He's just going to return exactly what you need on investment. On Chris Godwin, again, don't overthink it. Chris Godwin is not a wide receiver 30. If anything, this year he's probably going to end up as a wide receiver 2 in some way, shape, or form. But I
disagree with that Mike Evans at 12-1. I wouldn't be against taking him there, but I don't think anyone else is really thinking about that right now. But I would take him over Lamb, Diggs, Devontae Adams is a question mark there too.
Take him over Lamb?
I'd take him over Lamb. There's so many question marks around Lamb. He hasn't done it yet. Mike Evans has caught 13 touchdowns the last 2 years. I mean, Lamb's probably going to have a great, phenomenal year. I'll probably end up with a little bit of Lamb share here and there.
I just feel like for me personally, I get caught into that shiny new toy, so I would totally take Lamb over Evans.
I just feel like stupid. The biggest thing about Evans is Godwin's coming in relatively injured. Whether he misses games or not, he's not going to be 100% running out there. He tore his ACL this year. It was January 4th. So Julio Jones does add a weird stake to that. But once again, I think really what they're doing here is they're stacking depth pieces because of what happened last year with Godwin, because that really did break their season.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right about that. All right. I guess we'll just collectively talk about the defense. Devin White, I think, is the guy. He kind of had a disappointing year last year. If you tied your entire IDP team around Devin White, I don't think that you were happy with how that turned out. Levante David is getting kind of old. So, I think the old man time is coming for him at some point. It might not be this year, but I definitely think that it could happen this year. Vita Vea, even though he's a nose tackle, is super usable in IDP. He's one of the few D tackles that you can use and still be very relevant for your IDP team. And he is able to get in on those splash plays to make your team more exciting. So, guys, you want to add in your favorite defensive players?
The Key Mix was a great pickup for him. So I like them taking the jump with him. He's going to be kind of a nightmare on the outside there. I like Logan Hall. He looked really good at Senior Bowl. He put up some good numbers in college. So definitely a sleeper to keep an eye on. Joe Tryon is going to jump. I mean, he had 4 sacks last year, and he probably played like 20% of the snaps. So
he was a rookie too, and there was a lot of depth on this team. I actually really like this defense a lot. Like, if you're in a team defense, I think this is the one you want. There's so much talent around there. The interceptions, sacks, fumbles, they're all going to be there for you. And honestly, Tryon is probably my number one guy here. Vita Vea, I should say, would be, if you have a defensive tackle slot, he's a pretty good positional filler there. Big guy, fills a lot of positions.
I really like Keanu Neal. I mean, I know he's not technically the starter, but I think of those nickel packages, you're going to see him playing a lot of linebacker. So if you can slot him in as your defensive back position with the linebacker performance, you'd be very happy with him.
Well, and then Antoine Winfield is the DB1 on your team, and he will be completely usable. I'd say that anybody who does IDP rankings is probably going to have Winfield in the top 12 at least. No. So he's going to be someone that you're using a lot on your team. And I would even go as far as to say Carlton Davis might be usable, even being a cornerback. Like this team is very good. Like Josh said, I think that the team defense as a whole is very good. Like, this will be a good team for that. As far as IDP players, like, some of them are going to have pop weeks. Some weeks are going to be kind of light. And that's just because of the breadth of talent on this team that you're not going to have it every week. Just way of the road.
Completely agree. But I think these are the people that you want on your team. Mike Edwards, Winfield. Well, Winfield's a little pricier. And Tryon, William Golston. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for, and you don't have to start them. But, like, on the chance that you need to, you have the option there if you have money.
Well, let's do an IDP topic just for the IDP fans of this entire program. So Devin White, if you had a choice of any we're not gonna go, let's not go defensive ends because still think you take some of them over. But Devin White, as your first linebacker, who else would you take over Devin White right now?
I think there's really only one person, and honestly, I think it's an argument. You got Roquan.
Roquan, you can make the argument for Darius Leonard without the injury.
Wait, whoa, Joe.
Yeah.
Darius Leonard? Darius?
Yeah.
Do you mean Shaquille Leonard?
Did he change his name? I just saw that.
He
I'm like, what
factually
is
changed
this?
his name to Shaquille Leonard, and we like to go by that now.
Okay, so I will never be drafting him because I think he's going insane now. So
Yeah, he's going. That injury is really getting to him. I don't know what drugs he's taking to recover from that, but yeah, I saw that earlier, and I was like, "Am I tripping?" Nope, that's the same guy. But no, Roquan had a monster year last year, and I don't think there's anyone to take that away from him. But Devin White, he just didn't have 9 sacks. That's literally the only thing he was missing. He still did basically the exact same thing. He missed 10 tackles and 5 sacks. Like, people are just, you drafted him at his absolute ceiling, which he's still a linebacker 1. I mean, he's maybe not the linebacker 1 though. Every year it's going to change though. There's no more, like, it's not even Jonathan Taylor. Like, he could be usurped this year. It's not just because he is running back 1 right now, and just because he should be drafted as that doesn't mean that he's going to be every year. Like, it's not like that. I mean, TJ Watt, I think, might be the only example of like, yeah, he's number 1.
Okay.
So at least his middle name was Shaquille. I thought he was just making up a new name for himself. I can't get off on that. That's
apparently his entire family calls him that, and that's just how it goes. Okay. Well, anyway, let's play like a quick name game of sorts. So, would you rather have Eric Kendricks or Devin White?
Devin White.
Okay. Jordan Brooks from Seattle or Devin White?
Devin White.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I probably Fred Warner or Devin White.
I do really like Warner.
Devin White.
Okay.
Give me Warner.
We've kind of given him Warner. All right. And then I think we've kind of already said it, but Roquan Smith or Devin White?
Roquan,
for sure.
I think I would go Roquan there as well. But anyway, I think that the consensus last year that Devin White was the best linebacker in football and that you should take him as number 1. I don't know if it was consensus necessarily because Shaquille Leonard still existed, but I just think this year there's a little bit more of a question. I might take Jordan Brooks over him. I'm thinking about it more and more just because Bobby Wagner gone, Jordan Brooks, this is his year. I don't know. We'll see. But anywho, so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over-under is 11.5.
They can do anything that they set their mind to.
They do have a tough schedule. So we got Cowboys, Saints, Packers, Chiefs, Falcons, Steelers, Panthers, Ravens, Rams, Seahawks, Browns, Saints, 49ers, Bengals, Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons.
It's not that tough as a schedule, and they can beat any team.
The first part got me.
There's good teams there. It's just the thing is they can beat any team in the NFL, so it's not even like this is really just do you think that they can win 12 games?
Yeah.
This isn't is there talent that's going to stop them from winning 12 games?
So 12-5 sound like a good record for this team to end on.
Sounds like exactly what they're going to end up as. I think that's a really good,
a good over-under. Yeah, Vegas, they're pretty smart about these things. I think I'm going to have to go over as well. Just, literally the only thing that could hold back this team is injury because they're just that good. I don't see anything on this team that would lead me to say like, oh, that's a weak spot. They're not there. I mean, maybe depth on defense, but whatever. Like that could harm any team. So yeah, Tampa Bay is the winner of this division as well. This is the end of the NFC South, end of our division.